The judge asked if I could afford a lawyer, not knowing I was recording our conversation. I was 19 when my landlord tried to evict me illegally. Mrs. Patterson owned half the apartment buildings in our college town and had a reputation for targeting students. She'd wait until finals week, then find bogus violations to kick out anyone who complained about her slumlord conditions. My apartment had black mold, a broken heater, and water that ran brown every morning. When I demanded she fix it, she served me eviction papers claiming I'd violated my lease by having overnight guests. The guest in question? My study partner who'd fallen asleep on my couch after cramming for organic chemistry. I couldn't afford the $300 an hour the lawyers quoted me. My part-time campus job barely covered tuition and ramen noodles, so I showed up to housing court alone, clutching a folder of photos and my lease agreement. Judge Morrison looked me up and down, noting my thrift store blazer and scuffed shoes, and sighed dramatically. "Young lady, do you have legal representation?" "No, Your Honor." He leaned back in his chair. "Can you afford a lawyer?" Something in his tone made my stomach twist. It wasn't just a question, it was dismissal. "No, Your Honor. I'm representing myself." That's when he said it, thinking his microphone was off. Another broke college kid wasting the court's time. Patterson's lawyers will eat her alive. What he didn't know was that my phone was recording in my jacket pocket. I'd started the recording before entering the courtroom, nervous about forgetting important details. The hearing proceeded exactly as he'd predicted. Mrs. Patterson's attorney presented a polished case full of manufactured evidence. When I tried to show my photos of the mold, Judge Morrison barely glanced at them. The defendant clearly violated her lease terms. He ruled. Eviction granted. That night, I listened to the recording again and again. His bias was crystal clear. I did some research and discovered Judge Morrison had received campaign donations from Patterson's property management company. He'd ruled in her favor in 23 consecutive cases. I spent my last $50 on a public records request. The corruption ran deeper than I'd imagined. Patterson's company had donated to his re-election campaign, paid for his country club membership, and hired his wife as a consultant. I edited the audio recording, isolating his prejudicial comments. Then I created a detailed report connecting his donations to his rulings. I sent everything to the State Judicial Conduct Board, the local newspaper, and the university's legal aid clinic. The newspaper ran the story on the front page. Local judge's bias exposed in student housing case. The recording played on every local news station. Judge Morrison's office called me 3 days later. "There seems to have been an error in your case," his clerk said nervously. "The judge would like to schedule a new hearing." I walked into that courtroom with a real lawyer from the university clinic and a gallery full of reporters. This time, Judge Morrison's microphone stayed on. My eviction was overturned. Mrs. Patterson was ordered to pay damages and fix every violation in her buildings. Judge Morrison recused himself from all future housing cases. 6 months later, he resigned after the conduct board found a pattern of corruption spanning 7 years. Mrs. Patterson's properties were sold to a company that actually maintains them. I got my security deposit back, plus enough damages to cover my remaining tuition. I'm a third-year law student now, specializing in tenant rights. That recording still sits in my phone, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful weapon against corruption is simply paying attention.